Tappei has just released Arc 7 Chapter 27. This video will be a summary of the chapter. I highly recommend you check out my summary for Chapter 26. Anyways, let's begin. The chapter opens up with a statement from Todd. He states that if you're alive, you'll have the chance to cleanse yourself of shame. However, if you die, then it's game over. This is Todd's line of thinking. He will not take a battle if he can lose it. We see that Todd is looking at the city hall and Jamal is next to him, wondering what's going on. They're aware that a 9 Divine General had arrived, and it's one of the reasons they're lingering around. Todd initially wanted to abandon the city. After all, if it was captured by the poster child of war, known as Natsuki Schwartz, then it was only natural that dangerous people like Todd and Jamal would be eliminated first. Even though executing prisoners of war was frowned upon even in Arakiya, Todd is sure that Natsuki would execute them regardless with some excuse. This is the reason why Todd chose to flee with Jamal. However, he wanted to scout out the situation with the Divine General to see how the reinforcements were handling the situation. Jamal confirms that it was Arakiya that jumped over the main gate of the city of Guaral. He wouldn't forget such an attractive woman, a woman he saw 2 years ago. Arakiya was one of the strongest Divine Generals, and Todd believed she was the key to victory. However, Todd also believed that something happened to Arakiya. It was strange as he personally confirmed that Natsuki had no combat power. However, even if the people of Shadrak were on his side, the Divine General was in a different league. Todd states that instead of helping the soldiers in the city, it's more wise to ride the winning horse, which is to help the Divine General. With that, Jamal is pleased and he wanted to help the Divine General also. Todd and Jamal made their way to the city hall and observed the situation from a vantage point, observing the top floor which was blown off, and many people were injured. He noted that Natsuki and the blue-haired girl were facing Arakiya, and he hoped that Arakiya would finish Natsuki off. The only thing Todd cared about was Natsuki's death. Credit or other things were meaningless to Todd since Natsuki was so dangerous. As Arakiya was about to kill Natsuki, Todd's hope was crushed as he spotted a flying dragon and a red light descend and block the attack launched by Arakiya. Jamal asked if they should intervene, but Todd told him to shut up. Todd observed the girl in the red dress and recognized that she had an aura which showed that she was not an ordinary person. Despite that, Jamal wanted to jump in. However, Todd made the judgment that nothing could be done. Todd and Jamal watched as Arakiya was slashed in the back. However, despite this, Todd believed they could tip the scales back in their favor. With this, the city of Guaral fell into the hands of the enemies. Todd made the logical conclusion that since Arakiya was so powerful and just dispatched, it was very unlikely for further reinforcements to be sent quickly. It would take time, especially since Divine Generals are the pinnacle of Arakiya's strength. A Divine General is like an army. In other words, it's illogical to send 3 Divine Generals or 3 armies to squash one threat. Todd muttered about what to do. He was angry, but he couldn't let his emotions guide him. Jamal wonders if they'll back away again this time, but Todd realizes that even though they could initially escape, he comes to the conclusion that Jamal will not retreat for a second time, meaning the only thing they can do is figure out a plan to tip the scales in their favor. Todd believes that depending on what he says, Jamal might even point his sword at him, meaning that Todd might have to kill Jamal, but this is something Todd doesn't want to do as they are brother-in-laws. Todd tells Jamal that he needs to calm down, but this time they won't retreat. Todd explains that since Arakiya was defeated, they won't be able to win. Furthermore, he states that if Jamal died, then Jamal's sister would be upset. Todd used family as a shield to coerce Jamal. Despite this, Jamal grabbed Todd and stated he wouldn't back off. Despite Todd mentioning Katya, to which Todd states that it's a shame. Todd was more disappointed than sincere. So we can see that Jamal's sister is called Katya, so that's interesting. Todd decided that they may need to escape since there was nothing they could do. However, Jamal said he wouldn't die a meaningless death and shocked Todd. Jamal stated he knew what was in his capabilities and what he couldn't do, so rushing in was a bad idea. This actually shocked Todd a lot since Jamal could think for himself. With that discussion coming to a close, Todd shut Jamal's mouth and came up with a plan. Using the information of the geography of the city, he believed he could think of something. Normally, Todd wanted to think things out. However, when with Jamal, he gained the experience of improvisation. If Jamal's goal was to save Arakiya, then it's a different story than retaking the city hall. In other words, it's something that is doable. The plan was to sneak in once the occupants were relaxed. However, they had to avoid Natsuki and the woman in red. With that, the scene changed and we see they have infiltrated the city hall. It was very easy. No matter the location, Todd ensures to memorize the place. If he doesn't feel safe. He needs to know the escape routes, the areas to kill people to avoid being seen, and how to hide bodies without being detected. Todd saw that there were some sentry guards, but these were city guards who were helping the new rulers. With that, Jamal and Todd killed those who stood in their way in a stealthy manner and then hid the bodies. Todd and Jamal made it to the basement prison. It was one of those prisons where the worst criminals were kept in the back. We see that Arakiya is being held there and a woman from the Shudrakian tribe is standing guard. A woman with yellow hair. Rescuing Arakiya would easily grab the attention of this woman. Jamal is happy. The reason for this is because Jamal realizes that fighting is the only option. Todd is not happy with having to fight. We see that Todd doesn't like fighting, nor does he like killing people, but he will do what has to be done. Todd analyzes Holly's build and comes to the conclusion that she has to be attacked at the neck to ensure an instant kill. Jamal headed in, but that was fine. Todd could attack once Jamal got the attention of everyone present. Jamal approached Holly and they began a conversation as Todd was working his way around. He realized that the rebels who took over the city wouldn't predict that someone would rescue Arakiya so soon. We see that Todd had made it to the prison where Arakiya was and used his axe to break the lock. Arakiya was lying face down on her stomach. The reason for this was due to the slash on her back. Arakiya was not responsive, so Todd picked her up and ran out, directing Jamal to escape. With that, Jamal disarmed Holly and kicked her into a wall of the prison, knocking her out. Todd was going to kill her, but he heard a commotion above, meaning that potentially a body was found. We see that Arakiya is alive, and Jamal takes the lead to clear a way out, whilst Todd runs in behind. As they escape the city hall, Todd tells Jamal to follow him. They run along the back alleys, however there was a sound of wind as an arrow launched itself at Todd. However, Jamal intercepted the attack. The attack came from the same person who hit Todd prior. They could either escape or risk being shot at, or return to the city hall to kill the archer. However, the best course of action was to run and let Jamal intercept the shots. Jamal agreed with the plan, and Todd clutched Arakiya's body. With that, Todd gave Jamal a set of directions to follow. The second Jamal stepped out of the alley, he was intercepted by an arrow. Jamal was able to destroy arrows left, right and center, and was having his own sword dance. Todd followed Jamal, but he didn't distract him, as it would mean certain death. As they got to their destination, they see many Shudrakians with spears pointed at them. With that, Jamal lunged at the Shudrakians. If he was going to die, he would die fighting. The scene changes and we see Todd escaped, apologizing to his fiancée for not being able to bring Jamal back with him. With that, Arakiya sheds a tear calling out for a princess, and Todd then wonders if Jamal was wearing an eye patch again, as he struggles to remember what side of Jamal's face had an eye patch on it. And with that, the chapter ends. I actually really enjoyed this chapter. I thought it was totally different. Normally you see a stealth mission from the perspective of the hero, but this time we see a stealth mission with the perspective of the enemy. And I really enjoyed that change of pace. I did make a mistake in my last web novel summary. I forgot to mention that at the end when Holly runs in, she does mention that Arakiya was broken out by 2 Imperial soldiers. I didn't think that was relevant, but of course, as you can see, the 2 Imperial soldiers were Jamal and Todd. I don't believe Jamal died. I do think is that sort of meme where if Jamal takes off the eye patch, he is stronger. Maybe because he has better visibility, because he can see more. And Todd was wondering if Jamal was wearing an eye patch, because I think the idea is that if Jamal took off his eye patch, he'll be stronger and he'll be able to escape the situation. Again, I don't think Tappei will kill Jamal this early on, especially because I think Jamal's a good character. We got the name of Jamal's sister, which is Katya, but wait for an official translation on that. And yeah, Arakiya has been saved, and I'm looking forward to what happens. Again, like I said, I really enjoyed the chapter. Just listening to Todd sort of think about everything he has to do is really good, because it's such a difference from Subaru, and because Subaru doesn't really know anything, and he's just like kind of bumbling his way through. But Todd knows everything and he can come to a logical conclusion. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. And I'll see you guys next time.